The first beta of the Lord of Mysteries has taken place in China, through which we received a lot of new information. This concerns the introduction, group dungeons and raids, PvP, and the general structure of the game. The beta held in China focused on the PC version. Various users reported on it, although unfortunately no gameplay was leaked. The basic structure of the game is said to be heavily story-focused, and the beginning apparently feels almost like a single-player game. Fittingly, there is even supposed to be a special camera perspective for solo content. As for the story, it is divided into two paths, one that follows the novel and one that is meant to introduce new and, quote from a review, fun elements. Later, however, you are almost forced into the multiplayer aspects. For example, when it comes to gearing progression, so it cannot really be compared directly with where winds meet. Toward the end, it becomes more of a classic MMO. Regarding classes, there are supposed to be different pathways reminiscent of warriors, mages, or assassins. It wasn't entirely clear to me whether you can freely switch pathways or whether you are bound to a fixed class from character creation. In any case, you start a pathway with 6 abilities right away, which is quite a lot for the beginning. The entire endgame then focuses on typical MMO elements. These include various side quests, 6-player dungeons, nightmare dungeons for 10 players, and raids for 12 players. The nightmare dungeons and raids are said to be quite challenging, and there will be daily tasks and caps to reach. One review mentioned that you need about 2 to 3 hours of playtime per day to complete everything important. Then there is also the surprisingly large PvP aspect. You might not expect this from a story-focused game, but apparently there is a lot to do. For one, the game uses different factions that you can join as a guild. Afterwards, faction wars take place with up to 500 players participating simultaneously. On top of that, there are supposed to be city sieges where thousands fight at the same time, including vehicles and siege engines. So things seem to get pretty intense. To prevent performance from collapsing in this mode, a special technology is supposed to be used that dynamically hides and shows players. Whether that really works remains to be seen. However, according to one tester, more than 100 people were already present in one battle, and performance was very good at that moment. Those who don't enjoy mass PvP can also look forward to arenas and small group content, including smaller battlegrounds. As for the combat system, it uses real-time action combat. There will be a blocking mechanic and no global cooldowns like in Final Fantasy XIV. Crowd control in the form of knockdowns or stagger effects is said to be an important element. In single player, you mainly play as a damage dealer, but later in dungeons, the classic Holy Trinity is supposed to be used. In truth, we don't know much more about it yet because there is no actual combat gameplay footage available. In terms of social content, fashion is supposed to play a big role. There are various skins and even contests you can participate in. Finally, testers pointed out how huge the map is supposed to be, featuring several iconic regions, although during the test, only the content of Tingan City could be experienced. Graphically, the game seems to receive the most praise, and I also think it looked really good in the first gameplay trailer. This game is being developed in Unreal Engine 5, and as mentioned earlier, is planned not only for PC but also for smartphones. The PC version is clearly the main focus, and elements like autoplay are supposed to be avoided. However, there is a quest tracking system that automatically navigates you to the next objective. With Chinese games, monetization is always an exciting topic. Here, one user who claims to have invested 100 hours into the game explained that there will be a kind of pay-to-win. The main character stats cannot be influenced, but random substats can supposedly be modified with real money. This allows you to shorten progression a bit, but you can't just throw endless money at the game and become unbeatable, according to the report. In addition, Lord of Mysteries uses a seasonal system that regularly introduces new gear. Lastly, there will be a gacha system for skins. The Lord of Mysteries game is being developed by Spark Nexa, a brand new Chinese studio founded in 2022 that first appeared prominently at Tokyo Game Show 2024. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the beta reviews, which show mixed opinions regarding potential success. One user who invested 100 hours and claims to have spoken directly with the developers on site describes the game as top tier and a potential challenger to Where Winds Meet. He sees a major strength in the early game being easier and more understandable than Sword of Justice, but becoming much more complex later, which he considers a good balance. Another user, however, reported that the game felt far too easy, and since he has no connection to the Lord of Mysteries story, he found it boring. He described the combat system as a weakness compared to what he is used to in Korean games. This is where the first comparisons with Sword of Justice appeared. Another review generally questioned the ambitious ideas the company has. The game is supposed to feature dozens of hours of story content, massive sieges with thousands of players, and a huge world. But after nearly 20 hours, that person didn't see a AAA game, rather a niche title. Among other things, they criticized the character movement, which despite action combat, supposedly feels more like Final Fantasy XIV.